ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति. We are in section 2 of the Vedanta Treatise. The first chapter, chapter 9, is talking about human composition. Now, we started the chapter and we'll continue with the chapter. This section 1 was more of an introduction. Section 2 is more of technical, where there is application understanding required. Now, as till now, we have figured out that spirituality is about making change in ourselves. It's not about changing the world. It's not about uh, doing something externally, but it is very much internal. That's where we need to know about ourselves. The entire life we spend in trying to change the world. And we figure out that there is no point of doing it because, like Swami Ramatirtha says, changing the world is like straightening a dog's tail. You straighten the dog's tail, it comes back to the same point. So, does it mean that we don't do anything in the world? No, it doesn't mean that. It simply means that we prioritize self development to anything else. Even in an aircraft, when you're sitting down, the first thing they say is put the mask onto yourself first before you want to help others. More you are sorted internally, more you are available to be of any help to the society, to the world. So it is our prime responsibility to do something about ourselves, to sort ourselves. The level we go, if we are at the grosser level of our personality, it does not have that impact in our personality. So at the physical level, you may do a lot of work, social work. It can be a lot of help you're doing, and you're trying to make a difference. The impact in the society will be to that extent, will be limited. When you operate at the level of the mind, emotions, you identify with one and all, you see the need of others, you want to contribute more, you go beyond your capacity. So you are able to reach out to a larger set of people. You impact a larger community. When you go subtler in your personality at the level of intellect, when you operate from the level of the intellect, the impact you have in the society is huge. Mahatma Gandhi made a big impact in the society. Nelson Mandela, he operated at the level of the intellect. He did not go along with the masses, with the mahat, whatever the society was thinking about, but they thought differently and they benefit the society. They made a difference in the society. The impact was much more than at the physical or the emotional level. And when we talk about the spiritual level, we talk about these great sages and saints, self-realized masters. They are operating at the spiritual level, from the level of the self. When you operate from the level of the self, the impact is much, much more. The contribution of Adi Shankaracharya ji or the sage Vedvyas or all these great self-realized masters, we have several sages and saints in this country who are contributing to the society, humanity. Most of the self-realized masters are not even known. So that impact in the society is huge. So if I want to make a difference in the society, in the world, in my life, I have to start with, like Bhagavad Gita says, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, self-study. So moment I am able to contribute or able to understand myself better, I can operate at a deeper level of my personality, and the contribution automatic is more impactful. So now the topic here, the section 2, starts with understanding your personality better. So we go deeper in understanding, we are zooming in. Till now, we have talked about body, mind, intellect. This is how we generally describe our personality. Who are we? We are made up of physical body. Body by itself cannot act. It is just a vehicle, but there's something within the body which makes the body to act, which is nothing but the mind, the emotions of the mind, or the reasoning logic of the intellect. This is what we discussed till now. But now is going finer, is going subtler into the personality and saying that yes, there is one way of looking at it is body, mind, intellect is overall personality. But there is another way of looking at it, going deeper in the personality, that there is a spirit and there is a matter, and matter can also be divided. And that's what we are going to discuss thereafter. So in the this is what we have discussed in the earlier section where we spoke about the body mind intellect. Straightforward. The theorem remains the same, which is do not let the mind drive its action, drive your action. In other words, do not act on emotions and impulses because you are in less control of your personality. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you want to do. You don't know what the repercussion of the action is. So it is an impulsive action. So do not operate at the level of the mind. As a thumb rule, action has to be operated from the level of the logic, thinking, understanding, whatever you believe is right. You don't have to go with anybody else. You don't have to ask anyone, but whatever you think is right, at least start performing there. Most of the time, what happens is, having committed the action, we realize, I shouldn't have done it. I could have done it differently. Why is that coming? Where is it coming from? It is coming because of the lack of application. The intellect was not available before the action. So we regret. Whose intellect? Our own intellect. It's not somebody else is coming and telling me. My own intellect was not available before the action. So the mind drive the action. Mind was stronger to drive the action. I acted on emotion. I said something nasty to somebody, and then I realized I shouldn't have said that. I could have done it differently. It could have been a better way of doing it. So I was able to recognize it much later. That's why, so intellect has to be operating at all times. Whatever intellect we have to start operating at the level of the intellect, first phase, and next phase is develop it further. These are the two things we can do with ourselves to be on this path. The knowledge helps us to refine the intellect. It is like a gymnasium. So, in the gym, it's a conducive environment for developing the muscles. Similarly, this is like an intellectual gym you do every morning. You are trying to fight it out. You're trying to figure it out. What are these masters trying to say? You are trying to reason it for yourself, make sense to yourself. And so you read less, you try to understand more. It can be through e-learning. It can be through however you're doing it. So there is a manana, churning, reflection going on every day. And that reflection is going to develop your intellect further. So one way we have discussed it earlier, to make your intellect available, more alert, there is a method called as introspection. The introspection is when you try to recollect the day, whatever has happened till now, throughout the day. So I got up in the morning, I went to the gym, I did a workout, then I went for yoga, then I went to office, whatever happened throughout the day. Before you go to sleep, you keep a dim light and try to recollect the day. It should not take more than 4 to 5 minutes. Don't get involved in it. Don't have to ask anyone if you forget. Doesn't matter. You just briefly go through the day. Now, this will make this exercise every night, if you keep doing it, this exercise makes your present intellect more alert, more available. And the second exercise is self reflection. Every day morning, you're trying to understand, putting that effort, putting that yourself into the understanding of what are they trying to say, analyze, think about it. That is developing your intellect. So whatever intellect is there, we need to start using it and develop it further. And that's what they're saying. The bottom line is that intellect has to drive all our actions. Whoever is stronger takes the call. If the mind is stronger, it decides the course of action. If the intellect is stronger, it decides the course of action. So who wins? Whoever is strong. So what we need to do, we need to develop further the intellect, make it stronger so that it can operate at all times. So this is what we have discussed till now. Then comes we go further down the personality and say, okay, there is something called as the reality, self, the pure consciousness, which is beyond the personality, beyond the matter. And the first, it is manifesting through the vasanas, which is our personality, our inherent nature called vasanas. And it manifests as the body, the mind, the intellect. We are going finer into the personality. So the first level, we said there's a body, there's a mind, there's an intellect. Then we are going further down and saying, when we zoom in, then we say that there is furthermore the application, the understanding of the inherent personality, asanas. And there is a reality which is controlling it all. The pure consciousness, the divine power, which is same in one and all. So when you operate at the level of the body, you see the differences. Like we started by saying, you operate at that level, you're physical. You see everything physical around. When you're operating at the level of the mind, you become emotional. Everything is highly emotional. You try to reason also at the emotional level. Intellect, you go deeper, finer in your personality. You start reasoning, you start having ideas, thoughts, concepts. You hold on to belief system. You have your own principles, your philosophy. All this is happening at the level of the intellect. Further down, when you operate at the level of the self, which is where the operating would mean that the ideal case is only a self-realized master can operate from the level of the self. But deeper you go, better the control you have on the personality. More optimized you are, more dynamic you are, more peaceful you are, more beneficial you are for yourself and others. So that's what we mean by operating at the level of the self. You see the oneness in one and all. If you remember, we discussed about the sattvic knowledge is that which sees the oneness in the diversity. You are able to unify, you are able to recognize the unifying factor in and through whatever is going on. So this is as far as the personality is concerned. So the self is the spirit in us, and this body, mind, intellect is the matter vestures. They are made of the matter. The body is made of the gross matter, and mind and intellect is made of the subtle matter. And that's what we are going to cover now. So we have covered the part about, we said that we need to understand that the refer to the equipment, that mindness is there. There is something which is unifying in our experiences. It's my body, my mind, my intellect. It is that coming from that pure consciousness. It is the common factor because the body, mind, intellect is changing. The body I have 10 years back or 20 years back is not the same now. The mind and emotions I have now is not the same I had 10 years, 20 years back. The intellect is not the same. The understanding what I have now is not the same I had 10 or 20 years back. So the body, mind, intellect is changing. And it's not once in a while it changes. You take a picture and then you take a picture 5 years back and 10 years back. It's not when you took the picture, you changed. It's not like that. Every split of a second, you're changing. You observe the change at that moment. So they're saying, so they're analyzing, so I'm just analyzing here, that you refer to the equipment as my body, my mind, my intellect. The myness in that is the common factor. which is coming from that reality. Because this is the variable, the constant is that reality. And that's how he moves on and says that it is difficult to agree with that. So when we talk about, as long as we're talking at the level of the body, mind, intellect, it can be understood. Physical body, we understand. We see the body, each one of us are distinct and different. Mind, we understand, we all have emotions, feelings. Till now, we used to call that as a heart. But now, okay, Vedanta is calling it something beyond, subtler than the heart, is called as a mind. We are okay to accept it. Intellect, we still get it. We were used to call it as a nervous system or the brain. And now we are calling it, there's Vedanta is calling something subtler than that. There's something which makes us reason, think, analyze, that logical aspect of the personality, ability to think differently. We are calling it as intellect. So till now, when we talk about body, mind, and intellect, there is a agreement in understanding because it is not perceptible, but is understandable. We can conceive it, we can understand it. But when you go subtler, there is a problem because thereafter you are depending on somebody else's analysis. You can't figure out what's going on. So when we say, okay, the body, mind, and intellect is your personality, the expressed personality. The body is the grosser expression, the mind and intellect is the subtler expression, and the vasana is the core of it. We are going subtler and we are saying that there is a factor, there is an aspect which is holding this entire personality, the inherent nature. Now, we can't understand vasanas because we are the product of vasanas. A product cannot understand the producer, where it's coming from. So it is in a gray area but we can still figure out that there is a distinct and different nature each one of us are having. And Vedanta is saying that it is coming from the core of the personality, and that core is which is keeping it's more like keeping the coding of your personality, right? Which is there we are calling it as vasanas, which is still okay. Now we are going one level deeper, the final level, and we are saying that all this is changing. Vasana is also changing, body, mind, intellect is also changing. The only unchanging factor in the equation is something called as self, Allah, Vaheguru, Bhagwan, whatever we want to call it, that entity as. Now, this is beyond perception. Vasana itself was not conceived. We cannot understand vasanas. Still, we are projecting. But when we talk about the self, the life-giving principle, it is going in the area of complete unknown, and it needs to be, you have to agree or you have to go with other people's belief or understanding or explanation. The masters, whatever these masters have said. And to that, he said that it's not a blind belief. There is a belief in that. You're believing in these great masters. How is it that all the self-realized masters in different era have come and they have said the same thing, that having reached that reality, you are complete. There's nothing more to reach. That's a state of pure consciousness, the state of reality, the fourth state, the turiya. They all are referring to the same state, same experience. So to that, there seems to be a common factor in all these self-realized masters. And because of that, we project and say that it is not a blind belief, but it is a belief based on evidence, corroboratory evidence. And to explain that, Swamiji says that, your entire life, you say that I can't take belief system. I have to be perceiving it, only then I will go with it. To that, he explained that if you analyze, there are several things you have accepted in life based on somebody else said it. How do you know that you are the son of your parents? Because they said that. How do you know the food you're going to a restaurant is not contaminated? You agree with that. How do you know that the cab driver will not take you for a ride? You go to some new place, and how do you know the cab driver will not take you for a ride? You just agree with it. You just know that, okay, he will be a nice person. You assume it. So your life, made of several assumptions, several beliefs which you have not verified. Here they are proposing something which is being verified by the realized masters. So what they're saying is it is worth investigating. They are not saying that you have to agree with it. They didn't say that. They are saying that you have to project it. They gave an example, a very beautiful example of a bulb and electricity. They said that the bulb, when the bulb is glowing, the electricity combines with the bulb, there is a light. When the electricity is not there, electricity per se, there is no expression. Bulb per se has no light in it, but the combination creates light. Similarly, self per se has no expression. There is no creation per se in the self. The matter vestures per se has no expressions. The combination of self and the matter vesture is life, the expression of life. And that's how they are explaining it. The reality. What is that reality? And then they're saying, yet another corroboratory evidence of an eternal being is the persistent existence of the I in everyone's life. So now they're saying, okay, that even the common factor I, which we are talking about, is also a constant. You don't have to agree with somebody else. A great master, self-realized master, said that, okay, if you have a doubt there, analyze in your own experience. When there is a common factor which is persistent, existent of I in everyone's life, you use the pronoun I liberally without realizing its existence, its significance. The I runs through your entire lifespan. You claim, I'm rich or poor, I'm a boy or a girl, I'm young or old. You also say, I'm well or ill, I'm happy or unhappy, brilliant, dull. Same I runs through the equipments and their experiences. I perceive sense objects, I feel emotions, I conceive thoughts. Furthermore, it transfers the realm of the waking, dream, and deep sleep. In fact, this is coming up. This concept is coming up in the next chapter where we go in detail about what is the waking state of consciousness. Right now, we all are awake. We go to a dream state of consciousness when there is a partial manifestation of mind and intellect, and we go through a deep sleep, which is no manifestation. So, waking, dream, deep sleep. This is our experience as a human. So, even there is a common factor, the I. I am a waker, I am a dreamer, I'm a deep sleeper. I get up and say I had a very good sleep. Who said that? So you were there to observe even in deep sleep. Deep sleep is nothing but experience of nothingness. Even there, where there was no manifestation, it was only causal body, only the vasanas, even then, there was an aspect of your personality, that recognition, that consciousness, that awareness was fundamentally there. That proves that you are something separate, that I is something separate from the manifested expression. They're trying to, again, still explain the concept of the self. So, trying to go with our known factor to the unknown reality. The self cannot be known. The fact remains, the perception, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin cannot reach God. I can't see God. I can't hear God. I can't touch God. The mind cannot reach God. Mind can feel good. Good is not God. God is it's not just an emotion. Intellect cannot conceive God. God is not a concept. So it is beyond the body-mind-intellect. Body-mind-intellect is what is known for us. So we are trying to go from the known aspect and project that unknown. You have to agree with that. We don't have to get with whatever this master is saying. It's not a blind belief, but we are trying to see the evidence in the point what they're making. So I am a waker. So in the waking state, you claim I'm an athlete, waker. In the dream state, I am an invalid dreamer. And in the deep sleep, I am nothing, sleeper. These experiences are diverse and heterogeneous, but there is a homogeneous entity holding them together. The I pervading the three states of consciousness, percolating every physical, emotional, and intellectual experience, that should provide enough evidence for any rational human being to investigate its presence and purpose in his life. The fact that there is something which I do not understand, I do not know, but I am claiming it all through my life gives enough evidence to investigate into that unknown realm, which is the reality. They are calling it God, self, Atman, Brahman, but it is for us to verify, to investigate, go into that direction, what they are giving, and find it out for ourselves. A very beautiful example, the puppet show. In a puppet show, the artist is not seen by the audience. From his unseen position, he manipulates a number of wires to activate the puppets. So, the puppet show we all have seen, right? Even if you have not seen in the TV or something, you might have seen. There's a puppet show going on. So, they are puppets and they are being held by the strings. Right? And they operate the fingers to make it appear as if the puppets are alive. They are functioning. Right? They are moving. Everything is happening in the screen, which is behind the puppets. But in reality, they are held by the string, and there is a person who is holding it with the fingers and he's operating it. Right? The audience is thrilled at their movement and gestures. Right? Children look upon the inert bodies as free agents, consider them to be independent actors. They are not grown up to visualize the wires and the artists behind the show. So children, innocent, they see those puppets, they see them moving, playing a character, and they get involved in that and they enjoy that. It's fun. Now, if you are grown above, you know that these are just inert. They don't have any movement per se. The puppets are very, they are just dead matter. But they are strings which is operating. So you go finer and you understand it is not the puppet just that which is functioning, but the string which is making the puppet function. They are not grown to visualize the wires and the artist behind the show, but others with a limited insight spot the wires yet fail to recognize the artist behind it. So some people, they recognize, oh, there is a reflection, that wire, that is the wire which is making the difference, which is because of that, it is moving, it is making a gesture, it is asking, it's talking, all that is happening because of those wires. But they are quite complacent to believe that the wires are the cause of the show. But the intelligentsia go beyond the wires, understand and appreciate the work of artists behind it all. That is when you go subtler, you're able to understand that whole thing is being operated by those artists through the wires, through those people, through those puppets. But end of the day, it was operated at the artist level, not at the wire level, not at the puppet level. Per se, they have no life in them. Likewise, ignoramuses look at the world with wonderment, consider beings as free agents, have no clue of anything beyond the external manifested world. They give all importance to the physical body and its action. The more intelligentsia recognizes the inner strings of mind and intellect, playing upon the otherwise inert bodies. The one is the physical body. Here they're saying that the mind and intellect is the string which is operating the body. Body by itself cannot act. It is the mind and intellect which is operating. But those with spiritual insight see the supreme unmanifested power as the primal cause of the manifested world of beings. Perceive the divine conductor of the orchestra of life. While the ignorant out of sheer intellectual fatigue, dismiss the existence of the transcendental being, you would be wise to study the human composition, thoroughly go through the process of self analysis, practice the appropriate spiritual discipline, develop deeper philosophical insight, and pursue the evolutionary path until you discover the Supreme Self, attain spiritual enlightenment. So, what he's saying is that we need to go beyond the expression and understand your personality better so that you are able to discover your real identity. You are not the string, you are not the puppet, you are that actor, you are that operator, which is the self. So, understand your composite personality. Your composite personality is made up of a supreme self, the Atman, the core is the core of the personality we discussed earlier. The Atman enlivens the body to perceive and act. So, Atman, through that, the reality, the body is performing action, right? Perceiving and acting. Enlivens the mind to feel. So, the mind's operation is feelings and the intellect is thinking, to contemplate. However, the type of perception and action, feelings and thought emanating from the body, mind, and intellect will all depend upon one's inherent nature, vasanas. So, the type of perception actions, type of emotions you're having, type of intellectual thinking you're having, it is combined, is coming from the vasanas. It is operating at the level of your own inherent nature. Each one will be having their own type of perception, emotions, and thoughts. If the vasana's basic nature is good, the expressions will be good. If bad, the expressions will be bad. Similarly, brilliant or dull, evolutionary or devolutionary, according to the vasanas. As the vasanas, so the thought, feeling, perception, action. The chart below gives the anatomical, physiological, psychological, philosophical structure. So, organs of perception, perceiver, sense object. So, body, mind, intellect. Body has perception, action. Body perceives through the organs of perception. You are a perceiver and you're perceiving the sense objects from the world. Body has organs of action. You are an actor performing actions. Body has you have the mind, which has feelings, you express as emotions. You have an intellect, which has two aspects, the gross intellect, which expresses as thinker, thinking about the world, and there is a subtle intellect, the contemplator, thinking of the reality. So, this is the overall personality. This is the core understanding of our personality. Now, the difference between the gross and the subtle intellect. We have done it before earlier, just since it is there. The gross intellect operates at the perceptible world, the terrestrial world. The subtle intellect is able to perceive or conceive something beyond the world, the transcendental. So, intellect is the ability to think, reason, judge, decide, discriminate, analyze. That capacity is called as the intellect. Now, when you operate, when you discriminate, when you analyze, when you're thinking about the world, it is you're operating at the level of the gross intellect. When you are thinking about something transcendental beyond the world, you're operating at the level of the subtle intellect. So the discrimination in the case of a subtle intellect will be between the terrestrial and the transcendental. One factor has to be transcendental. So that's the reason we see there are people who cannot conceive of the reality. Like we were talking about, the evidence is a proof that there is something beyond what is operating, the body-mind-intellect. But they will, even with the proof, they will have a different way. They will not be convinced about it. They don't want to be convinced about it, don't want to pursue the understanding of it, because they do not have a developed subtle intellect. They have a very gross, a powerful gross intellect. So they are preoccupied in the world. We talk about Einstein, we talk about Newton, we talk about all these great men, the great scientists. They have very powerful gross intellect. Just because you have a powerful gross intellect doesn't mean that you will be able to have the subtler understanding of life. They're two different things. The example given is like an axe which can bring down the tree is different from the razor you use for shaving. They're two different operations. One is gross, one is subtle. You can't exchange it. Just because one day your razor is missing, you don't take an axe to for shaving. You can't. So there is a difference in the operation. The area of operation makes it different, right? So one is the gross intellect operating at the terrestrial world. One is the subtle intellect operating at the transcendental reality. Even to conceive, you can't perceive the reality. You can project something beyond it. That projection based on your understanding, reasoning, that requires a subtle intellect. The Atman functioning through the organs of action becomes the perceiver, perceives the sense object of the world, color and form, eyes, sound, ear. The Atman functioning through the mind creates the feeler and feels the emotions like joy and sorrow, love and hate, affection, passion. The third equipment is the intellect, is of two types, the gross and the subtle. They play distinct roles in life. The gross intellect is that which operates within the periphery of the terrestrial world. It is the discriminating faculty with which one distinguishes between the pairs of opposite therein. The world is constituted of innumerable pairs such as heat and cold, joy and sorrow, right and wrong, etc. The gross intellect makes this distinction, also deals with profound themes of science and technology. All this would still be classified as gross by virtue of its field of operation being terrestrial. The Atman expresses through the gross intellect as the thinker, the intellectual personality conceiving thoughts pertaining to the world. Distinct from the gross is the subtle intellect, which distinguishes the transcendental from the terrestrial. So the subtle intellect it operates at the transcendental level, which conceives the possibility of the eternal reality beyond the ephemeral world. Note the word conceives the possibility of reality. A person who don't have a subtle intellect, they will not be able to conceive the possibility. In atheists, you ask them, what is that you don't believe in? They'll say, no, I don't believe in God, whatever you say as God. What is that you say as God? Whatever your understanding of God is, I don't believe in that. They're able to conceive of something and then deny it. So they have a basic subtle intellect, but it's not strong enough to be able to conceive the possibility of something beyond. The ephemeral world discerns spirit from matter. The Atman expresses through the subtle intellect as the contemplator, the spiritual personality conceiving the self distinct from the material equipments and their manifestations. Hence, a human is a hyphenated perceiver, actor, feeler, thinker, contemplator. So, self from the body, acting the perceiver, body, actor. This is the physical personality. Self operating from the mind becomes a feeler, the emotional personality. Self operating from the intellect, gross intellect, become a thinker, that is the intellectual personality. Self operating at the level of the intellect, the subtle intellect, become a contemplator, that is your spiritual personality. The physical personality, emotional personality, intellectual personality, and the spiritual personality, the combination is you, the human expression. So self plus matter is human. And what is bringing the life in that human is the perceiver, actor, feeler, thinker, contemplator. Hence, a human is a hyphenated perceiver, actor, feeler, thinker, contemplator. Hyphenated means it's combined. It's all together. You can't discriminate one from the other. It's a synthesis of the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual personalities. The Atman is said to be a homogeneous mass of pure consciousness, the same in all beings, immaculate, unconditioned, yet it appears conditioned by the material equipments. Functioning through the body, mind, and intellect, it becomes the conditioned consciousness, the human being. Nevertheless, the immaculate Atman is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, like the sun above, whose rays are all powerful, all pervading. The sun above is singular, untainted, unconditioned, but its reflections are manifold in the numerous reflecting media. So, if you try and understand, the self is the common factor. It appears to be manifested through the body, mind, intellect as conditioned consciousness. Self is the pure consciousness. It has no expression per se, but the manifested expression is through the individuality, body, mind, and intellect. So, the conditioned consciousness is when it is perceiving, acting, feeling, thinking, contemplating. These are the manifestation of the pure consciousness. So there is a conditioned consciousness. This is called as conditioned consciousness. And this is the pure consciousness without any expression. Reality in its own core raw form is the self, the reality, which is singular, untainted, unconditioned. The example given is of the sun. There is a sun which is one. The reflections are many. So you have a dirty sun, you have a red sun, you have a blue sun. All these are nature of the vessel or the nature of the where the reflection is reflecting media. The sun is not tainted. Sun is not affected by the colored sun, a dirty sun. So all this is the expression of the reflecting medium. Reflecting medium is the individuality. So wherever there is a individuality, there is an expression of the reality. But even when it is expressing through the individuality, the reality is not tainted. Sun is not tainted. It is not limited to the individuality. It is beyond the individuality. It appears tainted, conditioned by the properties of the media. The sun sees through the blue mirror appears blue, through a dirty mirror dirty, through a broken mirror broken. Similarly, the supreme self that you are appears tainted, restrained by the limitations of the equipments through which it functions and becomes the limited, restricted human being. So when we are seeing it only with respect to the individuality, the pure consciousness, the infinite reality seems to be constricted, restricted to this individuality, expressing only through this personality. But when we understand it is the totality, it is beyond this individuality, we understand that it is not limited, restricted to human being, not restricted to the expression. The conditioned consciousness is not limited to the conditioning. The reflecting sun is not conditioned, limited to the reflection. It is beyond the reflection. Sun exists beyond the reflection. Even if there is no reflecting medium, sun exists. Even if there is no individuality, reality exists. The Atman, the pure consciousness, functioning through the body becomes conscious of perception and action, through the mind becomes conscious of emotion, through the intellect becomes conscious of thought. The pure consciousness becomes conditioned by the equipments. When a spiritual seeker rises above his body, mind, and the intellect, and their objects of consciousness, transcends the limitation of perception and action, emotion and thought, the conditioning ceases. The individuality is no more. He merges with the pure absolute consciousness. It is akin to the phenomena of reflection and sunlight. When the reflecting medium is removed, the reflecting image disappears. What remains is the all-pervading reality, sunlight. Now, the conditioning of the pure consciousness is brought about by your unintelligent identification and attachment to your body, mind, and intellect. Your focus of attention has long remained in the realm of these equipments. Consequently, you are held hostage of your perception and action, emotion and thought. You can free yourself from this bondage and regain your supreme self through the three spiritual disciplines. This also is being discussed in the later chapter where we talk about karma, bhakti, jnana. So, what he's saying in this paragraph is, we have confined ourselves, limited ourselves to the expression of this individuality, and we get affected, influenced by the body, mind, and intellect. Whatever happens in the world affects us because we have connected, identified with the body, mind, and intellect, and we get influenced by it. What they're saying is, you are not the body, not the mind, and not the intellect. You are beyond it. You are the self, functioning through this individuality. So when you get attached, when you unintelligently identify and attach to the body, mind, and intellect, your focus of attention you get conditioned. You are tainted by the body, mind, intellect, and whatever happens to you. So they are saying, free yourself through the spiritual path is given by the karma yoga, path of action for the body, bhakti yoga, path of devotion for the mind, jnana yoga, path of knowledge for the intellect. These spiritual practices are programmed to reach you to the goal of self-realization. So what is interesting in these three is body, mind, intellect. Body performs action, mind has emotions, intellect has thoughts. Now we all are functioning at the level of the body, mind, or the intellect. Now what they're saying is, what are we doing with our ability, capacity? Use this body to evolve, to become better, reach your real identity. Use the mind to become better, finer, realize the self. Use the intellect to reach the reality. So when you're using the action with a purpose, karma yoga, yoga means to get back. It's a root, the root Sanskrit term yuj, Y-U-J. We will be coming in the later part of the chapter. So yuj means to unite. Yoga in Sanskrit means to unite. So when we are using the physical body, to unite means to get back to your real identity. You are the self. Even now here, even if we do not understand it, you are the self. You are not separated from the self. The ocean can have waves, can have bubbles. The waves are born, exist, die in the ocean. But all through the wave was never away, apart from water, from the ocean. It was very much integral part of the ocean. It just took a form, it born, it exists, it died. So the human beings have the capacity to get back, unite with that reality. So the method given is karma yoga for the body, perform action, meaningful action, purposeful action. We all are acting. What am I acting for? How do I grow with action? An action should always be progressive, should make you more lighter, more full of energy. If your action is draining your energy, which means there's something going wrong in the approach to action. Nothing wrong with action, but the understanding of action is wrong. So we need to have the right understanding of the world, get a perspective, and function. Do whatever ought to be done. The other way is, I have to do it. Without me, nothing will happen. If I don't, I'm not there, what will happen? The world was there before me. The world will be there after me. There is no difference which will be done by me. But I have a role to play as a human. Whatever I am, wherever I am, whatever I can do, the best of my ability, I'm obliged to do. It's not a favor to anybody. I'm obliged to contribute to society, to the world. I'm benefited from day one. I have to give back. That attitude, that thought is Bhakti Yoga. Recognition of the benevolence received every moment of our life is called bhakti, devotion. Devotion comes through recognition. Devotion, bhakti, is not prayer. Worship is not beggary. It's not going to God and asking for one more thing. God, please give me one more thing. That's not worship. Worship is about recognizing how many things we have received every moment of our life and being grateful of what we have received and operate at that level. Having received, the obligation is to give back. When we don't have, when we believe that we have nothing to give. When we recognize that we have received so much, we have so much, automatically you are ready or you're available to contribute, give back. So that comes through bhakti. And then is Jnana Yoga. Adi Shankaracharya ji, he puts it very completely in one line. He says, Nitya, Anitya, Viveka, Vichara. Nitya is permanent. In Sanskrit makes it negative, impermanent. Permanent, impermanent. Viveka is intellect. Vichara is thinking. A constant understanding of what is permanent and what is impermanent in life is Jnana. It doesn't say how many scriptures you have read, how many books you know, how many verses you can repeat. That is not the criteria for Jnanam. Always recognize between what is permanent and what is impermanent in life. The speaker here is impermanent. He may be dead and gone. But the knowledge is permanent. Value the knowledge. Give the due importance. Live that. Understand that. Verify that. Reflect on it. Give importance to the knowledge, not the people, the speakers. That understanding is jnanam. That true insight, going to the permanent aspect in and through all that experiences, is true jnanam. These spiritual practices are programmed to reach you to the goal of self-realization, the state of pure consciousness, the abode of absolute peace and bliss. The disciplines enable you to control and direct your equipments to tread the spiritual path. Use your intellect to guide the mind, senses, and body to the ultimate destination. If the intellect is not alert, the mind goes out of control, the senses run amok, and the body perishes. This idea is portrayed in the picture of the chariot and the horses in the epic Mahabharata. This is the idea which we mention, that deeper you go in your personality, more control you have of your personality. It's been given with the metaphor of a chariot. So they are the horses, which are the senses, then the strings, the mind is holding, the intellect is the charioteer. When the charioteer is in control of the senses, you can direct the chariot and you can progress in life. When the charioteer is not in control of the senses, it goes helter-skelter, it goes in all directions, and you lose control of your personality. With Krishna as the charioteer and Arjuna seated behind, when the charioteer holds the reins firmly, the horses are under control. The chariot heads to its destination. If the charioteer is not alert, the reins slacken, the horses go out of control. The passenger fails to reach his destination. In the metaphor, the charioteer represents the intellect, the reins of the mind, the horses, the senses, the passenger, the individual. When the intellect maintains a perfect control over the mind and senses, the individual reaches the ultimate goal. So it is there in Mahabharata, in Bhagavad Gita, as you know. Also, it is coming from the Upanishad. It's actually there in the Kathopanishad, where it is the starting point, where is the master, Lord Yama, gives the knowledge to Nachiketa, where he describes this concept of the charity example, explaining being in control of one's personality. That's what is going to be discussed. Thank you.